share some information about the situation in Syria and how we in Australia can make some sense of what's going on inside Syria, how it's become an international issue. Normally, political conflicts are expected to be resolved internally within countries. Foreign intervention is generally banned by the United Nations system because it almost inevitably worse processes start. What changes are being produced by the current government? The political opposition, they can say something about the political opposition, the armed opposition, the relationship between the armed and the political oppositions. What does the exile-based Syrian National Council have to do with the Free Syrian Army, if anything? What about the pro-government groups, the Sharia?
We're here tonight to say the truth and to defend the noble rights of Syrian people. We're here tonight to raise our voice in order to end the war which has been forced on the Syrian people, make the officials more responsible for their actions, behavior. Suddenly after that, the war within the country was started. Why? We should ask ourselves the following questions. Why have the two countries, Qatar and Turkey, which have provided support to the government of Syria for many years and invested a lot of money in Syria, suddenly turned their back and announced that the Syrian government is corrupt and does not respect the basic human rights and is unrepresentative of the Syrian people? And who brought them to Syria? Moreover, was they are considered freedom fighter in Syria and elsewhere in the world, they would be seen as a terrorist.
In respectfulness and in honor to the sovereignty, leadership and the people of the Syrian Arab Republic, the Syrian conflict will be identified to deliver a concise and genuine understanding as of a Syrian people's perspective. And that will be in preference to the participatory, accustomed, imperial, supposedly friendly, key governmental and non-governmental organisations in our regional and international neighbourhoods. Given that much genuine and sincere accounts delivered by the Syrian people themselves, those are from the twin bombings in Al-Qazaz. Many people died that can't even be accounted for because they've just been torn apart. You see there's a woman's dead middle of the car there. Responding to these charges, Russia's First Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Audrey Denzov, expressed regret over France's basically emotional reaction. Devoid of analysis, he reiterated that the steadfast position of his country in this case, as for others, is not to support governments but peoples. It's being understood that the Syrian people elected President al-Assad at the last constitutional referendum.
As Syria is governed by a socialist Ba'ath Party, it's similar to Russia and China in its tradition of rare public statements. Mother Agnes Mariam, who will be coming to Australia shortly, has been at St James Catholic Monastery in Homs for 18 years, and she suggested that media access was denied in Syria partly because in Libya, journalists secretly hid electronic devices for NATO military intelligence. Now, the Syrian government's restrictions on professional Western media inside Syria, I think, has actually backfired. It's created a vacuum that's been filled by anonymous amateur voices and self-appointed monitors. Their traffic of tweets and mobile phone images have provided feeds to a very hungry media, who I posed a rhetorical Arabic question to the armed opposition. Do you want to eat the grapes, or do you want to kill the vineyard's guard? Are you bloodthirsty for the president's scalp, or do you really want to taste the fruits of new policies in a new Syria? From there, I was invited many times to comment on the Syrian situation on ABC TV's The Drum and News 24, always expressing caution about the disparate opposition voices. By the 2nd of April 2012, the Australian Israel Jewish Affairs Council referred to me as a noted Jewish apologist. What do they call it? A noted Assad apologist. I love that. Noted Assad apologist. Thank you.
Tool, as in by these armed armed insurrection people, they come and they take place in the civilian areas. Why? Why you don't make your combat? We have a lot of desert. It is against international laws. But what really scandalizes us and leaves us in distress is that the Western world seemed to be encouraging this rise of sectarian violence just to topple the regime. We are against violence, and we are against justifying violence. You can't say that this man is killing another man and he is justified to kill him. Moreover, when through his movements he is putting in real danger and having terrible collateral damages to a whole civilian population which was neutral. That's what is happening in Aleppo. You know, we are responsible, and if we are not responsible today, but we are responsible toward the history. Once all those atrocities will be revealed, when you will see a family whose girl has been abused, or I have heard about collective abusing, whose son has been beheaded, whose father has been abducted. You know that there are thousands of people, you don't know where they are because they have been abducted. Sometimes they are bandits. They say, we are in the revolution, but they are bandits. Mafias who come to ask ransom. Some others, they have like sectarian hatred. So they take this one because he is Alawi. They take this one because he is a moderate Muslim. So we don't know, it's a confusion, it's a chaos. And what really grieves us is that the international community holds a paradox. On one side they say, with hypocrisy, we want peace, we want to protect the civilian population. They even want to intervene in a military way, like in other countries. But on the other hand, they are funding and sending intelligence helps and sending weapons to rebels. Really, you don't know from where they come. The majority of the Syrian population, I say, is taken as.
And each time I've gone back, or at least when I got a digital camera, I wanted to take photos of these people so we know who we are supporting to kill. We are supporting the US engineered war to kill these people, basically. Syria is a secular country, but that doesn't mean the people of Syria are not religious. They're very religious people, but they support a secular country. They're moderates, if you like to use that word. First of all, can I introduce myself? As someone who's lived in Syria and returned quite a few times, I love Damascus. It's supposed to be the oldest continuously inhabited city in the world, and you can feel humanity there, history there, human history there, our history. And I also love the connections that you make with Syrian people. I don't know, many of you have probably been to Syria, many of you are Syrian, so I think you understand that when you talk to Syrians in Syria, particularly, you notice that there's a heart-to-heart connection, a very direct eye contact that you have with Syrian people. They seem to be very sweet-natured, very welcoming people. So I loved my experience of teaching in the classroom in Syria. I also valued the diverse feel of Syria. I think a lot of people imagine that Syria is just another Middle Eastern country, but it's not just another Middle Eastern country. When you live there, you get to feel the diversity. You realise that the makeup of the Syrian people is very, very complex, and you've got green eyes, red hair, blonde hair. You've got so many different nationalities that have made up the Syrian people.